If you didn't know, this is where I live. Yeah, so I've been kicking around when's the right time to talk about it, how is the right time, how's the right way to talk about it. But all I know is I'm supposed to talk about it. And I don't want to make anyone upset. And I think that's one of the reasons why a lot of people aren't talking about anything but have this overwhelming feeling that they want to talk about stuff. So I lost 400 followers just on Instagram yesterday. I lost 200 just from sharing condolences. And then I lost another 100 and then another 100 the next day after I said, you know, if you unfollow me because of what I'm about to say, which in my mind was not controversial at all, then that's fine. Haley says, how can I pray for you? Is this about Charlie? And yeah, it is. I just got done watching Theo Von's video, and you know what, it gave me such like a perspective from your guys' view when you guys watch me process online, because I just thought, man, I just love seeing this side of Theo Von. Like, it was cool to watch him feel comfortable to just process. And I, as a supporter of him in that moment, was like, this must be what people feel like when I come online and I start to just not make sense in my mind. But he made so much sense to me until the Build-A-Bear thing. But then I still was like, I get it, because my brain does those things too. I don't know how to like stop being myself. I can't stop being myself. And I think that's the hard thing, is I built a brand that is no longer really even what I started it as, this crafting channel. I haven't had the capacity to craft or teach or anything, and while I want to, it's just life just always throws things at me. But now it's throwing things at the world that are making people go, what is the point of like any dumb thing that we're doing? And I am supposed to be editing a video right now, and I got ready to film the giveaway video for this Friday, and all I wanted to do was talk about Charlie Kirk, and I wanted to talk about Jesus. And I want to talk about this because somebody said, Missy says, it's crazy that people can't accept other people's views. And I don't expect anyone to accept my views, because I know that my views are radical to this world. And I'm also not expecting anyone who doesn't believe in Jesus to react any way that I would expect myself or other believers to react. And that's why I wanted to kind of shift who I was talking to from now on. But I have this heart for unbelievers, and to seek where they have issues with what we believe and talk about it, which is what I think Charlie was as well. And I did not align with some of the ways that he went about it. I don't even love debating. I hate debating. I actually get like riled up just from the idea of debating. But I love having conversations, and I love hearing people's perspectives. And I think it's because I align with a lot of different perspectives. And honestly, the first thing that I really connected with Charlie Kirk on was his statement that college is a scam. And that's when I got like sucked into listening to him and hearing him. I watched him on the debate channel where it's like you put one person and like 40 people around or 20 people around you that don't agree. I watched his episode of that, and I loved his points on college. I would break out in hives if I had to debate. Okay, so Haley, that's one of the things. So Tiff and I were talking about this the other day, of how we both are flawed in our ways of debate or conflict even. And one of them is, you know, there's the fight or flight response, and I go into fight, whereas Tiff goes into flight. And that's a physiological response we have to opposition. And if you do desire to have these conversations, you have to slowly put yourself into these conversations with the ability to keep your central nervous system calm. And it's one of the reasons why I don't like debating, and I don't like the idea of teaching debate to our college kids and high school kids, because it's, to me, it's not a way of coming to a resolution. I also wanted to talk about how, as Christians, we need to respond differently than the world. We need to remember that we're called to love our enemies, and that's what shows the difference. And I think Charlie tried to stand on that as much as possible, but he was a boy. And there's, I think, and that's not an excuse, because I've been listening to a lot of Candace Owens, which it's very hard for me to listen to her because I agree with a lot of the things she says, and I really want to know all the things she's talking about, but I have a really hard time listening to somebody who constantly is talking as if they are trying to prove you wrong. And while there's space for emotion in the way that we talk, if I'm always talking like this and I have an opinion, it does something to the central nervous system. At least it does in me, and maybe that's something I just have to learn, is not everything is trying to get a rise out of me. So Wednesday, we were supposed to have Zoom. I canceled Zoom for business members because I wanted to just leave myself some space to feel what I was experiencing with the rest of the world. And Thursday, I cried all day. I didn't get ready for the day. I tried to do like mundane work. And I'm so glad that other people on TikTok were posting things like, I don't know why I'm feeling this so hard, because it made me feel like I wasn't crazy. And then this came in our mail, which is a conference that a organization does. This came on Friday, or it might have come on Thursday night, so the day after he passed, this came. And this is it's called Alternatives Pregnancy Center. It's an organization that's amazing and helps girls who, it's just, if you know Charlie, you knew that he was big into being pro-life. And this organization does amazing things for women who want to keep their babies. And Charlie was on the flyer. This was something we would have gone to, we'll still go to probably, and he's the top person in here. And I was like, it says featuring Charlie Kirk and King's Kaleidoscope, but he was going to be at something we would be at. And that was just like, we got that the day after he passed away. And it's just, they probably had made those flyers a long time ago, not realizing what they would go through, and all the things. But yeah, so I'm not trying to turn this about me at all. I know I've been on the internet many times talking about things that have gone on in my personal life. And you guys have been such a great support and beautiful thing. And I'm not here to try to talk about, oh, I'm losing followers, how sad for me. Honestly, the point is, talking about truth and hard things comes at a cost. And for me, it's a cost of people who might not know me or want to hear me out on things. But that's a part of speaking truth. And so while I'm trying to edit for Craft Day Con, and I'm trying to put together Pinners Conference that I leave to in 3 days, all I want to do is just talk about the truth. Find the truth. Figure out the truth. And that's I thought that was just how I was wired. But in reality, I think that's just a call as a follower of Jesus. His wife made me cry with how she told her baby girl. She actually hadn't told her baby girl in that, if you have, and so I just want people to see, and I'm talking to the people who agree with me, not the people who are opposing to my thoughts and beliefs, because I don't really want to tell you guys how to think at all, because I don't expect that. But anyone who agrees with me in the fact that what happened was wrong, I want to talk to you guys, because I want you guys to know that our job is to respond in love. And I shared yesterday, finally, I just wrote out some of my thoughts, and they didn't really even make sense, but I started with the fact that I relate to Erica in the sense that I had to sit with my nephew, and every night I had to put him to bed, knowing that my sister would never be there again for him to ever put him to bed. And he was 3. And I don't talk about this a lot. It was the hardest thing I've ever had to go through. And I don't talk about it because I know it makes other people feel uncomfortable. And to watch her boldly talk about it, I was like, oh my gosh. And this is ripping the world's heart out alongside you. How could you like share that such intimate detail? Well, that's my own inner, like, I don't like to share things about grief sometimes because I don't want people to hurt for me, because I know I'm hurting. They hurt for me. I hurt for other people a lot too. So I don't want to hurt people by sharing my sad things. And so to see her openly share these things, I was just like, we're already hurting so much, and those words were hurting people even more. But the reality is that's her reality. And while it might hurt us, it's hurting her the most. And I know that's why we feel sad for that. But I started my conversation yesterday with that I empathize with that. And there were still people who responded with, and this is not to get anyone riled up, there were still people who responded with talks about the Second Amendment, which had nothing to do with what I was saying. And while I'm open talking about all of those things, that's not what my statement was about at all. And I started with a statement that I thought would soften the blow so that others would feel like they have a safe space to share stuff. But I'm not surprised. The thicker skin we can get to be able to share our opinions is a good thing, which is something Charlie Kirk stood for. But the softer our hearts can get with the thicker skin, I think can be even better. And I think that's the thing that I'm struggling with most is I don't mind the hateful comments I'm getting or the hateful comments people are getting. And Charlie was no stranger to hateful comments. And he demonstrated well in spaces how it was to respond in those situations. Not always the best. And that's how I looked at it was, you lose your credibility when you lose your cool. And the Bible says a gentle response turns away wrath. And maybe it doesn't in this season, but if you continue to show up gently, it will turn away wrath. People can't hate you for if you continue. But I also know I have struggled because I am a passionate person. And God has been working in me for the last 2 years to be able to just settle my nervous system. And that is why I was like, I think God is allowing me this space to be able to just share and open up, and who I want to talk to are the people who are getting feisty. Because if you are a believer in Jesus, first of all, I want to tell you, Moses had to be casted to Midian for 40 years before he was able to do the work of the Lord. There's a refining season for anyone who wants to speak out right now. And if you haven't gone through that refining season, be careful. And just a reminder that the fruits of the spirits are love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, gentleness, self-control. If I missed one, let me know. I'm sorry, but 8 of those words are not feisty, retaliating, good for them, their loss, bitterness. None of those are fruits of the Spirit. And while I see the sides of all of them, I see the sides of anyone who doesn't agree with me, because I know that our hearts are trying to become aligned. Nobody wants anyone to be killed and shot. There are people who do want that, though. And separating that doesn't mean separating everybody in the process. And to not separate people, I knew this was going to be a problem in the woods. Bugs. Not separating people through the process is important. That doesn't work anymore. They see your kindness as weakness, and it becomes so by not responding to their violence. You can respond, and that's my point. Is I'm not telling anyone to be quiet. I'm not telling anyone to not be mad. I'm not telling anyone to be silent. But what I am telling you is be all the things you're called to be, which is bold, loud even. But even the rocks cry out and glorify his name silently. Do you know what I mean? You don't have to be physically loud to be loud. There's a time to speak, and there's a time to stay silent. I don't feel like this is a time to stay silent, but I also, as somebody who has openly shared my opinion and gotten myself in pickles in the past, I know I'm going to rub people the wrong way, whether I do it wrong or right or however. Either way, I can create an echo chamber however I want. Candace Owens is a prime example of that. I'm not trying to be rude to Candace Owen. I'm not trying to be hateful about her, but she's created an echo chamber of people who are angry. And I think it loses credibility when she is trying to get very valid points across. And that's the thing is, these are all valid points. I see valid points on all sides. And anyone who disagrees with me, I can see why you disagree with me. I can't see how you could think anybody deserves to die. I can't see that one. And I know there's a differentiating line where there are these people here. So here's far one side, I'm not talking about left and right, okay? I love how someone put it. It's no longer left and right. It's humanity and evil. Most people are in humanity, okay? Everybody's actually in humanity. Our battle's not against flesh and blood, but against the rulers and authorities of the dark world in the spiritual realms. Watching what happened to Charlie is utterly heartbreaking. We've been holding vigils for him here in the UK. I think you're brave for being able to express your opinion on a public platform. I agree with you, and this whole situation is awful. God has a plan. Dude, God has such a big plan for this. And Charlie, if you were to ask, I think that's one of the things I was saying yesterday was the conviction that came with this, because we know as Bible readers that the weight of what we believe could cause death. We just don't see it. We don't see it because we're so separated from it. And Wednesday we witnessed the reality of that situation that we are told is a reality, but we don't realize it's a reality because we're not living boldly. But if you would have told Charlie 5 days before this happened, Charlie, or if you would have shown him the videos that people will be sharing of revivals happening in schools, kids standing on tables in their cafeterias getting ridiculed but still preaching the love of Jesus, and you were to ask Charlie, you're gonna die in 5 days. But this, and people get, I don't want to talk about Second Amendment rights, but I could talk about it if anyone wants me to go into that in a different video or different platform even. This is where I'm kind of trying to, I'm struggling to figure this out. I know that it's time for me to start talking about this stuff. But I also know that it's not really that professional unless that is my profession, which is talking about this stuff. And that's where I've gone back and forth with this for many years. Like, where do I put my thoughts? I don't want to start a whole nother YouTube channel, and that's out of my own pride, I guess, because like, I've already built this one. I'm going to talk about it on this one, but I do want to start somewhere where I can just openly talk about things that you guys are genuinely interested in hearing more about. But like I said, I didn't align with him on everything. I definitely didn't align with 100% of the way that he said or did things. 10 years ago, 20 years ago, probably I would have, but you know, he was younger. He's not that much younger than me, but he was younger than me. And probably back when I was 31, I probably would have said the things that he said the way he said them. I agree with a lot of things he said, but not how. And that comes with the last 5 years of my life learning to refine how I communicate on all boards. And one thing I love that Charlie Kirk says was, when people stop talking, bad things happen. When marriages stop talking, marriages end. When people stop talking, bad things happen. And that's reality. But how do we talk? How can we make a space where the mic is open to anyone? And Charlie did that. The mic is open to anyone to come and talk and feel like they can be heard. And I think that's the thing, is on the reciprocating side, how do we create a space where they're actually being heard? And then how do we also create a space where we can actually be heard, to the point where we're no longer dividing each other, but we are coming together in a space that allows truth to be seeked. As somebody who wants ultimately the truth to come out, the truth, which in my mind is Jesus. The way, the truth, and the life is Jesus. But if you want to disagree with that, I will gladly talk to anyone about it. So, thank you, Mary, for saying that. But I am not called to ridicule the people who are against me, but I am called to show them love, and I am called to call out my brothers and sisters in Christ. And if that's you, I'm going to challenge you. I don't know how many people are going to see this, but the intimateness of this, if it's a small crowd, and if it goes more people, welcome. But I'm going to challenge you to hear somebody of the opposite side and empathize with them. Sympathize, as Charlie Kirk would say. He didn't believe in empathy, which I totally understand. As somebody who says I'm an empath, I get what he was saying when he was talking about empathy, but I'm still not going to stop saying I'm an empath, because I think I am. But I can hear him saying there's no such thing as empathy. It's a new age word and all these things. But, you know, I don't know. So Wednesday was a really crazy day for me. I don't know if what everyone else's experience was on Wednesday and when they found out, but I was just on Instagram. Instagram's my place where I connect with people, and Mark Driscoll, who is a pastor I do not agree with half the time on the way he again, Mark Driscoll, I love what you're preaching, but I hate how you do it. Anyways, I still follow him though, because I just do. And he put out a call for emergency prayer, and I opened it up because I was like, what's going on? You know, some of these people know more than I do, a lot more than I do about stuff. Years ago and now, did you agree with the views on Black people? Says Crystal. And let me just clarify this really quick before I keep going about Wednesday. One of my longtime followers messaged me back on Instagram, and she had mentioned, you know, I think he comes across racist and things like that. And I responded to her, and she said, I can't believe you responded to me. And I said, of course I'm going to respond to you. Why wouldn't I? And I said, I can't blame the new followers for thinking that I might align with everything. But if you've been following me for a long time, you will know that I have no room for racism in my heart. I'm actually 1%, 2% African, if you didn't know. But I'm actually a mix of a whole bunch of things. But I love that I'm 2% African. But I'm like 100% African, really, for anyone who's followed me, because Africa is where my heart lives. And not African American, African. Like, I love Africa. But I'm not. I don't align with anything that he would have or would still say that is racist. I don't align with anything that he would say that is anti-biblical or that demonstrates anti-biblicalness. And that's what I had told the person who messaged me was, you know, that if I was sitting next to Charlie Kirk and he were to say some of the things that he said as a sister in Christ, I would be like, just like I do with my personal friends that are Christians. If they're saying stuff, I'm like, bro, sit down. It's not cool. Jesus would not want you to be saying that. However, I could elaborate on that specifically as well, where I don't think that he was, but I can see how the things that he said came across that way. And again, the way he delivered was a very blanket statement followed by hear me out messages, which I reverse those. I want you to hear me out before I make a blanket statement, which is hard when you have new followers who hear what you're saying but haven't given you the time to understand who you are or what you believe and what the truth is. Because regardless if I believe it or I'm saying it, doesn't mean it's truth. But so Mark Driscoll put that out, and I opened it up and had no idea what he was praying over, but he was distraught. And regardless if I agree with Mark Driscoll half the time, I still am like, why is he crying? Why is he upset? And then I heard him say Charlie Kirk's name, and then I heard him cry thinking that he wasn't going to make it. And then I thought, what the heck is going on? It's going to be one of those kind of days. And I followed it from the moment it started, and the hour we were waiting to see if he would make it, there were countless people laughing. So I screen recorded every single one of those and created a TikTok, which I'm still trying to figure out. Is that something I need to take down? Was that my, I'm raising awareness for like the hate that's out there, but I do feel bad that I used people's videos. But yeah, so I'm trying to debate, like, I don't know, maybe you guys can call me out in that situation if that's the thing I'm supposed to have done or not. But I shared a TikTok on that. And on my personal one, I have a personal one that I kind of share more of my faith-based talking and stuff. So, Crystal, that's the part of what I'm concerned about. So let me just tell you the 3 things that I've heard most. So Crystal says, I'm not African. I followed you for a long time. You said you aligned with most of his views, more so years ago. Thanks for answering. No, not more so years ago at all. I literally just found Charlie Kirk maybe a year ago and started listening to him. I really love Ali Stuckley. I keep mentioning her name to the people who are in our world, and they're like, who? And I'm like, she has the same viewpoints, but she says it and she's so much kinder. And that's the hard thing, is these people, Candace Owen, anybody in politics who've broken away and done their own like self-publishing, I guess, of their own podcasts and stuff, they get followers by being controversial. And that's a hard one, because that's what we're here for. We're trying to grow on our platforms. And if we find something that works and we go, ooh, when I say mean things, or I say a mean thing to get a rise, but then I explain it, I can grow faster and still get my point across. To me, that's not morally acceptable. But Ali Stuckley, she's sweet. She speaks the truth. Do I align with everything? No, because I'm not going to align with everything that somebody says. Otherwise, we'd be the same person. You know, me and my husband sit at dinner every night and don't agree on half the stuff we talk about. Doesn't mean, you know, if he were to die, I wouldn't share a eulogy for him, you know? Like, one more argument and I'm not sure. But no, just kidding. We were talking last night, and we're getting so much better at having these conversations, because honestly, Dustin and I don't align on a lot of our thought process here. And we do usually actually come to a resolution, but it takes a long time of us hearing each other out. So, yeah, so if you follow me for a long time, you would know that I do not align with those things. But let me just put this out there. Where do I align with Charlie Kirk? And honestly, I'm doing a lot more research because I don't know all the things he stood on. I think you'll be surprised with where I don't align with him. But and I don't want to go into the huge, so the two big, huge controversial ones I keep seeing are racism and Second Amendment. 100%. I am not a racist, and I don't want to speak for what Charlie Kirk was or is, but no. And I don't feel like that I can even talk about that in such a surface level video. It's not surface level, it says. I feel like that would need a whole video. Second Amendment rights, I don't want to talk about it either because I have all sides of views on that. So I definitely don't fully agree with him on the Second Amendment stuff, but I do align at the end with a lot of the stuff that he points out. But the way that he said things, no. Okay, so those are the two big ones. Then there's pro-life. I think I align pretty much with him on pro-life. And if that offends you, that's something that I'm very, I don't know, that's another one that I'm like, maybe I need to have a whole conversation about that and where my stance is on that, because I have many thoughts on that one. But I am pro-life. And as somebody, yeah, I guess I can do a whole video on that. But then the less ones, I 100% agree with him that college is a scam, which might make people upset, but I don't care because that's what I 100% agree with. And I about 42% agree with the fact that women should stay home and work, or stay home and be stay-at-home supportive wives, and their husbands be the main breadwinner. And like, there's a lot of thoughts there, but those are the 5 main points I know he stood on, but I don't know what else there is. So that's what I'm actually learning more about Charlie Kirk too. But those two, I'm like, ooh, brother, I would love to sit at dinner with you and have that conversation, just to kind of iron sharpen iron there. With college is a scam, we would probably be just like, yeah, we agree 100%. So it's a very hard thing to share about because it is all over the place, and you are going to be rubbing so many people wrong, whether you agree or disagree on either side. But the whole thing is, how do we have these conversations so that no one's getting upset? And if you are getting upset, leave space for it, but come back to it. You know, that's one of the things in conflict resolution is, I feel a rise coming up in my physiological response. I can take a break and I can come back to it. There's not space for that in a debate, and it pushes and it prods, and it's really, really not a good situation for building core trust in another person and what they're saying, or space to agree to disagree, or to even bring someone over to a different thinking pattern, you know? And our brains are tricky. They're like hardwired in there for many reasons. So it's not something that can just be unpacked with one person within a 5-minute debate or a 3-minute debate. It takes a lifetime of relationship sometimes for you to have enough credibility in somebody's life for them to actually hear you out. So there's that. I was in a really good headspace today, so I thought it would be a good time to talk about it. And I think that's something I want to challenge everyone too. If you are feeling the call to talk about this, process it, feel it. Don't speak out of anger. Don't speak out of sadness. I mean, you can speak out of sadness, that's fine, but I still do think that would dictate the logic. I was in a very logical mood today, I'll just say that. Yeah. So my heart breaks for all the hate that is going on in the world. Charlie's life's been taken from this world. Was something that would never have happened. We all have the right to speak our beliefs. I know, and honestly, I when I heard that he got shot, I actually wasn't surprised. I don't know if it's like, I don't know if it's like the gift of just, I don't want to say prophecy because I don't have like a huge gift of prophecy, but I definitely like can foreshadow things. And I definitely was like, someone in this world is going to get shot soon, in that political speaking out voice. And actually, I started this video by talking about that I was just listening to Theo Von, and I was like, oh no, don't do it. And he started to say, I think there's something bigger going on here. Like there's more people who know about what's actually going on. I was like, don't do it. Don't be a conspiracy theorist. You're gonna get hurt. And so yeah, I'm in a space where I'm trying to figure it out. Let me tell you, I've been a conspiracy theorist longer than it was cool to be one. I'm an OG conspiracy theorist for as old as I am. I don't know. I'm sure there's people much older than me that are secret conspiracy theorists, but it wasn't cool to be one when I started being one. And probably why I have thick skin. Because I was very boisterous about how I felt with certain things 20 years ago. I can't believe I'm almost 40. Every time I say that, I'm like, no, I was only 2. No, I was like almost 20 years ago. So in my prime of my brain development, I was becoming a conspiracy theorist at heart. But as a genuine conspiracy theorist, I question conspiracy theorists. I don't just question everything. I don't just question one side. I question conspiracy theorists too, and they have lost their ever-loving minds. And I don't like identifying as one anymore. Like, I loved identifying as a secret one because, yeah, but it is just like, you're actually going to hear about it in mine and Jess's segment a little bit, but you can see that I get very reserved in the parts where we start talking about it because I'm like, ooh, you don't know, people are really mean when you talk about this stuff. So anyways, I saw Theo Von's little conspiracy wheels turning in his processing, and then it turned into, if you haven't watched it, it's like 18 minutes. Go watch Theo Von's response to Charlie Kirk. Let him know I sent you. Then maybe I can be on his podcast one day. No, just, I don't know. So, yeah. I don't know. But this was a hard one. I'm sorry I like your channel and your personality, but Charlie was a horrible person, and I can't feel bad for a person that spoke hateful rhetoric. So you like my channel and my personality, but Charlie was a horrible person. Where's the conclusion there? That you're unfollowing my channel? Because if that's the case, see, I see this in Mean Girl theory all the time. I challenge my friends in this. One of the things I hate most is when somebody is like, we don't like that person. And I'm like, have you met that person? And they're like, no, but I know this person and that person doesn't like her. Okay, can that person maybe speak for themselves so that you can go and get to know that person before you take a one-sided, and I'm not saying they're wrong, but just saying like, give that person a chance. Not that, I'm not saying you haven't given him a chance and you don't know what I stand for, but my point is to unfollow somebody because they are friends with somebody else or they shared a picture of somebody else or whatever it is. That's one statement. But then I do understand. I'm having a very hard time not getting upset with anyone who is celebrating. I mean, I think that's genuinely righteous anger, is just anyone who is celebrating the death of a human being. That's where we separate the humanity side of it to the evil side of it. And I'm just like, I'm not saying you're celebrating it, but I am just saying, like, even despicable human beings don't deserve to be publicly, I don't know, I'm not gonna go that far. I'm speaking from this chat. I definitely didn't get racist from you. I wouldn't have ever followed. I appreciate you and what you share. It's funny how what we speak outwardly can come back to us. Oh yeah, and that is, okay, so that is my point is, if you are willing to film yourself and put it on the internet, it can be taken out of context. I'm sure there's something in here that could be sliced, and then people can put it all over the internet and say, she is like this. And then all the people who watched this whole video would be like, did you watch the whole video? I don't know. Maybe, but maybe you are sitting here watching that and thinking that. Okay. Everyone's going to draw conclusions wherever they draw them. But the more you watch him, the more I think you will realize that the blanket statements that are being clipped and cut are not what he meant, because you know how he genuinely responded to people most of the time. But yeah, I don't know. I know there's a lot of old clips that come up from a lot of creators all the time that I mean, I've been on this space for a while, and I've been through the cancel culture of everybody, and the comeback of everybody, because they all just eventually come back. But like, which is kind of cool when I look at it. I'm like, okay, you didn't let it keep you down, but you know, if you don't change your ways, it's just going to keep happening that you're getting canceled. But there are people who put stupid stuff on the internet around that age of being like 20, 21. And I remember wanting to just post whatever I thought. And now I think I'm old enough and I've had enough life experience to go, I should probably wait until I'm in a good headspace before I talk about this. And I would do that with my family, and I would do that with my best friends. I do have a quick question. Is the mystery box video, are you going to be recorded? I have to work on both of those days. Absolutely. So Craft Day Con in 2 weeks is a 2-day, like 4 hour a day video that lives on my YouTube channel. I've been saying this. In my videos I've been editing over and over. So I'm like, I like almost go into it. I'm like, what is Craft Day Con anyways? Craft Day Con is this. So, yeah, it'll be up, and then I will actually be crafting with all of the stuff that's in the box throughout the holidays. So if you got the box or you're getting the box, we're gonna be splitting the box up into smaller little crafts soon. So really it will only be available for the next couple weeks. Once the event has hit the internet, I'm splitting the boxes if there's any left, and if you want to buy pieces, and then we have some bonus stuff too. So, but all that to say, the videos will live on my YouTube channel forever. So whether you're like, I don't have anything from that box, you'll see what we used. And it's like a continuing, you'll see the whole weekend was a lot of unfinished crafting, because in the spirit of crafting, whoever really finishes their crafts. So, did I miss anyone in here? Yeah, and I mean, I don't know where I stand with how much I should talk about it on this YouTube channel anymore, but I did want to just put one video out at least to cover it all, because I do think that's important, and it's probably the best way to do it, honestly, so that I don't have to feel like I left anything out, or that I have something to do. Like, oh, now you have to go start a whole new YouTube channel and a podcast and find a space to do a podcast. That's where my brain has been. I'm like, maybe you just start a whole podcast. And I'm like, how would I get guests where I don't even know anything about podcasting? So, darn, I thought I missed this. No, you didn't miss it, Barbara. I'm still here, chatting away, procrastinating from making giveaway videos. Maybe this helped get it out. I don't know. That's the thing, is I feel like I talk to people about it, and then I just feel like it doesn't go away. I appreciate this live chat. Thank you. Yeah, and I love live chatting. I've thought about this. I was like, I could film it, but then I have to put it on the internet, and after, like, live is just the best if for anyone who, I don't know, you'll find a way to make it happen. Oh, thanks. I'm going to Pinners Conference in 3 days, and my booth is I thought about just like, I don't want to do I have like a lot of logistic things that I'm just like, what am I doing with my life? And why did this week just like throw me for a loop? Not, oh, me. No, why did this week just like, I don't know how to explain it. I didn't know how long I would be like crippled without being able to do something, because I read something that like grief brings, like trauma events can bring up your existing grief feelings, like, and it can throw you into real life grief. But I was experiencing that a lot of people were experiencing that too, like whether they have experienced grief or not. But that's definitely something I was like, oh yeah, this feels like grief. This feels like crazy grief. Check her website. Oh, can I still get a craft box? Yes. auntietay.com/shop. Yeah, auntietay.com will get you there, and then you just click shop. The mystery box is there. I'm going to be listing some cool new stuff this week, so that people who find me at Pinners can buy stuff too. So if you want to buy stuff, it'll be on there. Hang in there. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. I'm hanging in there. I don't know what Erica is going through right now, because I've never lost my husband. And I've never had a husband that was publicly shamed for his death and celebrated for his life. And I can't empathize with that part, but I can empathize with having to tell a 3-year-old that one of their parents is never coming back to them. And I've done that twice. It's hard for me to explain it sometimes, because I'm like, I have 2 nephews. One is my grandnephew and one is my regular nephew. And when my niece died, my grandnephew was almost 3. And when my sister died, my nephew was 3. So that hit twice, because I have had to tell a 3-year-old. I didn't have to tell my first one that his mom died. That was somebody else's job. But yeah, so I empathized with that. Have missed most of the video, but been thinking of you this week. Was very heavy. Thanks, Anna. I've actually been thinking about you all week, because my niece Anna, she loved Charlie Kirk, and I actually got to know him more because of you, Anna, because you were like, no, there's this shift in the younger generation that I've been seeing happening. And I was like, all these politicians are like being talked about by the younger crowd. I need to figure out who these people are. And then I started listening to Charlie Kirk, and I was like, I like this guy, but you know, I do. I'm going to just stand on that side. I need to dig deeper into actual complete footage before I could have an opinion, but a man's life was taken. Highly suggest listen to at least like 5 full conversations. If you want to hear a good one, which I haven't even heard, I just saw snippets of it, so here I am being hypocritical. If you don't know who Gavin Newsom is, he's our governor. And him and Charlie did not align on anything. Nothing, probably. And the way Charlie Kirk handled a conversation with Gavin Newsom made Gavin Newsom even a delightful human being on the podcast that he was on. But I don't know where you stand with all of that. But just saying, he had a way about him that if you took the time to not be mean to him, and he didn't have to put that boundary up of, no, I'm not going to let you hurt my feelings by talking about my looks or my teeth or my hair. I mean, he laughed at his South Park. I loved how he experienced, like, his South Park episode. He was like, this is the best thing I've ever seen. But he had a way about him that if you could get yourself to calm down, to talk to him, he could make his point. And yeah. But also, like, us Californians, this is about as political as I'll get because I've lived through this in California, is our governor shut us down for like a really long time, a lot longer than the rest of the world, that's for sure. Well, he sent his kids to private school, and his kids got to go to school while our kids didn't. But just to say, his son, this speaks volumes. His son wanted to come and see Charlie Kirk when they were going to be on a podcast together. And he was like, did you let him come? And he was like, no, he had to go to school. And Charlie was like, you locked the world down for 2 years. You couldn't just open up one more day. And like, oh, that was so good for us Californians, just to have somebody stand up for us and speak just say it in a way that we wish we could say it to our own governor. But it was just like, thank you, Charlie. That was so helpful. But anyways, the fact that Gavin Newsom's son wanted to see Charlie Kirk, hear him out. Thank you for hearing me out. I suggest hearing him out. Listen to full-length podcasts of him, full-length everything. And after 5, if you still feel the way you do, come back here and tell me I'm an idiot and that I need to change my thinking, because I don't mind if you want to say that. I'm open to hearing things. I mean, I've seen clips and I'm like, whoa, Charlie, that wasn't cool. And then I hear them out, and I don't always agree with them at the end, but yeah. Hey, what did I miss? Jennifer, Charlie Kirk died, so you're not an idiot. Thank you. I think we can all say confidently that we have looked at people and thought they were idiots. Snip that and turn me into a villain if you want to. But let me clarify that. I know I just said I don't want to do that, but we've all been guilty of drawing a conclusion about a person before we hear them out. Maybe because they made a blanket statement. Maybe because someone else made a blanket statement about them. Maybe because they look a certain way. The guy that is growing on Instagram right now that debated Charlie, that looks literally like someone I would have hung out with in high school, which was like all black and like piercings and stuff. Like, I had a lot of friends that looked like that in high school. And usually they're genuinely the nicest people on the planet, just so you know. But he's like, dude, I'm super conservative. And you wouldn't know by the way he looked. So don't judge people by the way they look. I mean, Jeffree Star is a prime example. People were on his live when it came out publicly. And I think people were just saying what they were thinking because they were not, again, hear Jeffree Star out. Okay? Because I watch Jeffree Star a lot and I know his heart. I definitely don't agree with half the stuff he says, but we do agree on a lot of things too. But he was just like, listen, I am this way. I do this and I say this, and hear him out if you want to know his side of what he was thinking. But he has a space to say that in a certain space, and I don't, because I'm not a boy that likes to wear makeup. But he is, and so hear him out on that. Who's Sonia? What happened? I'll have to rewatch this video later. I missed most of it because we were in a car accident and I'm stranded out on the state with my granddaughter and daughter. Well, and you're watching this video. Why? Thank you for tuning in, but you have bigger fish to fry, my friend. Come back when it's all done. But yes, I'm sorry. I hope you guys are okay. Obviously, if you're watching this video, you're okay, but geez. All right. I just had to get it out. And I don't know where to get it out because I don't have a podcast. Hunter, my dog just went. He's like, you guys don't even know. She gets it out all the time and you guys don't have to listen to her all the time. Anyways. All right, I have to go film some videos. Watching while waiting on calls. Got it. Do you guys hear the train? I think that's the second time it's gone by now. Yeah, get home safe and don't worry about what I had to say at all. I mean, you can watch it later, but no, you don't. You have things you got to do, girl. All of my youth girls group, I live for Jesus. As I tell my youth group girls, live for Jesus. Yeah, girl, but you know what? Okay, so if you work with youth, I've worked with youth for a long time. If you've worked with youth, the youth are amazing. They're gonna get this. Oh my gosh, they're gonna get this and they're going to do amazing things with this. And they are so much more grounded and stable these days than I feel like we were in our youth. I don't know. There's something about them, but maybe it's just the youth I hang out with because I hang out with some really cool youth. But train up your youth if you're leading them on how to communicate effectively and learn it if you haven't learned it yourself. I think that's one of the reasons why I have gotten really good at it over the years is I work with youth. And do you know what the youth say sometimes? They say some pretty absurd things that you have to challenge, but you have to do it in a way that is sweet and compassionate because they're youth. Like, they will cry if you say mean things. So, no, I don't know. I think that is actually one of the things I see the most. It's like, would I say this in my small group? And if I was in my small group right now, how would I explain the situation? It would be, people learn a lot by allowing them to process out loud. Good therapists do this too. You will let someone talk to the point that they come to the realization of what they are doing, but you don't have to make them feel bad for any of the absurdity that they say or feel in the process. And I think that's the part we need to cling to is we can't make people feel bad in the brainstorming stage of figuring it out. Because what happens in brainstorming stage? No bad ideas. So you gotta allow someone to say, I think this, and you unpack it. Okay, so let's think about that. Let's critically think about that. What do we have that says that that's true? What do we have that says that's not true? Could this just be something that you're basing off of an effect or a feeling or something that you have that you need to work out? There's a lot of those things, We're all in some pain, but overall, we're all okay. Thanks so much for the well wishes. Good. Lord, this is an everyday lesson. That sounds like my house. Yeah. Yeah, it's 3 reasons why marriages end, and one of the big ones is communication. And communication is so hard, even with people who love each other so much. So how are we expecting to communicate with people who, 1, we don't know, and 2, we don't align with on anything that we think? For the most part, we would be like, okay, then we're just not supposed to be in each other's lives. But for some reason we are. And for some reason, the death of Charlie Kirk is riling people up to want to talk to each other or hate each other. And I think that's the thing is, one of those is bad. We just need people to talk it out and let it all out. The key is not to think it about you or what you have to fix. Yep. And let me tell you, I'm a big one on boundaries. I'm a big one on protecting yourself from harmful people, but I do think the majority of the world does want to not be harmful people, and then they end up harming each other in the process. And I think that's a hard one because it's like, ooh, this is kind of counterintuitive, right? Like, we're trying to fight for peace, but we're fighting for peace. How do you fight for peace without fighting? Because that's an oxymoron, to fight for peace. You need to learn how to fight or disagree. There's a way of doing it without cutting the other person down. Yeah, if you're cutting someone down, my pastor did such a good job this morning. He totally went off script because he was like, you know what, this was planned, but I can't talk about this right now, so I'm going to talk about whatever I need to talk about. And he just did such a graceful job of explaining this too. Like, we need to check ourselves, because if we are so upset about a situation that it's causing us to hurt someone else, there might be something inside of us that we need to work out, because we shouldn't be taking strangers' And I get it. They're saying some very mean, terrible things. And Jesus said they hated me before they hated you. And Jesus was perfect. Jesus was perfect. He's the only person I align everything to and with. And that's even hard sometimes. Because he said some challenging things too. But okay, I'm going to get off. Go film my giveaway video. But I did want to get all this out before you start seeing like giveaways and promos to CraftDayCon and vlogs from Pinners Conference and all the things. I was like, I can't just put all that stuff on my channel without addressing things that matter. Because they don't matter. CraftDayCon's stupid. It's not. It's actually going to be good. It's a lot of this, honestly. You're going to hear just some crafters talking and hanging out with each other. But long before Charlie Kirk died, so there won't be any of that in there. I may add some middle segments where I come in and I chat. Do you ship to the UK, Tay? Right now I don't ship. Oh, the mystery box? I think we do. Like, pretty sure you can put a UK address in there. It's just going to charge you shipping. Like, I don't know how much that is. But I think we ship to the UK. I don't think we've shipped a box to the UK yet, though. But, yeah. So, give me, I think it's like 3 days. I'll have some new listings up, too, for anyone who doesn't want the whole box, but wants parts of the box. I can't tell you how long they'll be in stock, but they might probably stay in stock for a little while. I will check. Thank you. You're welcome. Oh, I'm also going to what's happening with the lighting? Yeah, I just want to leave this as it is. I don't want to talk about anything more, but I found a cool manufacturer in Dallas that I'm going to go visit, and it'll be in my Pinners Conference vlog, which won't come out until, I think, after October, honestly, but oh, the lighting's getting real weird, but it's so pretty back there. It's such a pretty day outside. You could sit out here all day and not work. Natural lighting. Yeah. So anyways, it's been a heavy week. Also, I didn't mean to not mention anything about Evergreen High School and or the millions of other things that are going on in the world, or Lorena. My heart is hurting. Actually, I also thought the Charlie Kirk stuff was hurting me more because I had spent like the entire day before learning about the Lorena, the stabbing on the train. I don't even know what's happening anymore. I'm not an eschatologist to a degree, because obviously I believe in Jesus. If you don't know what an eschatologist is, it's somebody who fixates on the end times. I'm not one of those, but I'm just saying there's a lot happening. But some of the eschatologists I listen to that I don't always agree with believe that the 7 years of tribulation started like June 4th. And I'm not gonna lie, it's been a little crazy since then. So anyways, all right, I love you guys. I will be not live, but you will have a lot of videos to watch in the coming 2 weeks. Yeah, but I didn't want to just start popping them on the internet without giving credit to how heavy this week has been and how valid your guys' feelings are on all sides, all corners of the spectrum, because I don't think it's a side-to-side thing. I think it's a wheel of chaos. And if you're feeling conflicted, it may be because you saw something that didn't sit well with you, but you also love Jesus, and you're like, wait, let's talk about it. There is so much. So much. All right, I love you guys. Thank you for hearing me out.